Jalubit.com.
Oh my God, when she come for the area, say all the man them Joe Ajo, all the boys down Kulugu, say let them dance Kulugu. You feeling me, baby, Walangolo. I'm the king of the Kuntu.
Oh my God, this one is too small for me. I can't even use it to buy one to buy a market. What should I this one I do now? See this small boy, you come here, Junior, come here. Who gave you this money you're holding?
There's the one I've been saving, man.
You have been saving money?
Yes.
And you did not tell me?
I my father, I'll tell you.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you who gave you the money, but I want us to play a game.
Which game?
And in that game, I want you 2 questions from the Bible. And if you fail it, I'll collect your money. And then you ask me 2 questions on the Bible. And if I fail it, you collect my money. You want to play the game?
Yes, agreed.
You agree? Yes. Well, let's give our money. But wait though, how much is your money?
My own is 120 naira.
120?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Let me put this one. My money is also 120.
My own is also 120.
Ha. How much is that?
80 naira.
Your food is no longer 120 naira now.
No, it's no longer 120 naira. It's 80 naira.
Okay, I'll put my own back.
I use my own bag. You can see the one where I go use bathroom box.
Okay. Now, Junior, here comes the first question. Junior, what is the name of the place where Jesus was born?
Jesus was born in Nazareth. Nazareth.
Okay. Here you have failed the first question. Now, the second question.
I can feel it.
You failed the first question. You failed it. Jesus was born in Bethlehem and not Nazareth. Stop looking at this money, yo. I'm the one that will collect the money. Just look at my face. Junior.
Oh, but what money fell down now?
Leave it. I'll pick it. I'll pick it. Junior. Who were the parents of Jesus?
The parents of Jesus are Virgin Mary.
And who?
And Joseph the carpenter.
She are wise. You think you are wise?
Oh, leave her. I never asked you your own, they rush for me. I put that name as your own.
This moment. No, you think if you ask me a question, I'll fail it.
You fail it, that's me.
Do you know who I am?
I know you're a pastor.
I'm a pastor. I teach higher standard. I don't know what standard. It's like you don't know me.
Let us ask you. Listen, John. Forget about higher standard. Uncle, what were the name of the 3 wise men that went to see Jesus?
Oh, so see the kind of question asking me. This your money. Oh, this money I'll carry it. Their name there. Gold. Frankincense.
Jesus.
And then
Blood of
finish. Did I get it? Why is it blood of Jesus? Do you know what the name of?
Uncle, you made it. You made it from A to Z. Here goes my second question. The lion that Samson killed, how many teeth does he have?
How many teeth?
Yes.
How many teeth?
Yes.
You know, you're serious. You're serious.
Go leave her. You don't feel my question again. Look at the rush to where they go say. Uncle,
Come, Junior.
yes,
If you stand there, please leave for me.
Uncle, make I leave for you. It's like 10 naira. Choco.
No problem. You left 10 naira for me, sure? See how small you are. You left 10 naira for me. Don't worry. The next time we'll play it. How are you?
Okay. Azaka ziggy ziggy.
It's Gazi Clef Productions.
So many things on my mind. Oh no sing poor. So many things on my mind. Oh no sing poor. I get a lot on my mind. Oh no sing poor. So many things on my mind. Oh no sing poor. Oh yeah, wish your mommy. Oh yeah, wish your daddy. Baby girl, wish your daddy. Oh, not the container. Baby girl, wish your mommy. Baby girl, wish your daddy. When you matter, wish your daddy.
Thanks for watching our video. As you can see, Jazz Boy Comedy. Please subscribe with your friends, your family, your well wishes. And also, don't forget your enemy, subscribe with them. Your tag, Jazz Boy Comedy.